Throughout history, disruption has been a constant, unsettling force, often leaving us feeling uncertain. From the discovery of fire to the industrial revolutions, and now this machine era, each wave forcing us to adapt and evolve, pushing us further and further outside of our comfort zones into this new realm of the unknown. Today, change is happening faster than any disruption in human history. Think about this for a minute. When Thomas Edison made the affordable light bulb, it still took 80 years before 100 million households had electricity to run that light bulb. Yet Netflix got to 100 million households in 3.5 years. Instagram got to the same 100 million households in 2 years. ChatGPT did it in less than 2 months. 100 million households in less than 2 months, and most of those were in 5 days. We're stepping into a world where machines and tech are changing everything. Disruption's happening at breakneck speeds. Some are even saying that AI might replace humans at work. In fact, recently, IBM came out with a study. They said that nearly half the US workforce will have to completely reskill by 2026. That's nearly 64 million US workers will have to learn a completely new job in less than 2 years. So what are we supposed to do in the face of this AI revolution? How can we augment for a future where no one gets left behind? Well, much like Ulysses in the Odyssey, we're facing this labyrinth of challenges that we must overcome. Now, as daunting as all this may feel, there is some good news. Thank God. Because it turns out that inside each one of us, there's a key that can help us overcome these challenges. What if the way to beat this machine is to let it win? What if the way for us to evolve and adapt and augment for this new future was to actually use AI to do it? And not just use it, but make it our co-pilot. What if this is how we don't just survive the seismic shifts that we're facing, but we soar them? See, it turns out that inside each one of us is a key that can unlock a level of continuous innovation needed to augment for this new future. And that key is to love your weird. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, well, how is loving your weird gonna save us from AI? Well, you're not alone. I was in the same boat for a long time. But before we get into my journey, I wanna take you back in time for a minute. Back to the 15th century, back when the word weird was originally coined. You see, back then, the word weird was spelled differently. It was spelled W-Y-R-D. But it wasn't just spelled differently. It had a very different meaning. You see, back then, this is before it got this negative connotation, which was made infamous by Shakespeare and his weird sisters. But before that, the original word weird meant the power to control or influence your fate, destiny, and my personal favorite, supernatural qualities. Each one of us in this room possesses a supernatural quality, a weird that must become our true north on this journey of this unknown future. Today, I want to take you on a journey to unlock your weird. And the easiest way to figure out what is my supernatural quality is to actually go back in time again. Maybe not to the 15th century, but back to when you were 5 years old. You see, at 5 years old, each one of us possessed 3 raw ingredients that not only allow for us to unlock a level of continuous innovation and embrace our weird, but these are the elements that are the most unique to us as humans. These elements are still inside of each one of us. They're just sometimes trapped along with the child within each of us. Those ingredients are authenticity, imagination, and generosity. When we work and partner with our new AI co-pilot to help us be more authentic, more imaginative, and more generous, we can augment for a future where no one gets left behind. Okay, let's dive into authenticity. Speaking of being a kid, you remember when we were kids and you thought, I'm never gonna be like one of those boring adults. You know, the ones that never wanna have fun. And yet here we are trying to figure out our taxes and acting like we actually know what the heck we're doing. I mean, I don't know about you, but I used to think quicksand was gonna be a much bigger issue when I grew up. That 5-year-old, my friends, that's your original weird. You in your most authentic form, your destiny unscripted, your magic untamed. This Love Your Weird journey for me started about 7 years ago. I was facing some major setbacks, failures. I was very burnt out, and I was at a crossroads. And it was then that I realized that most of the issues I was dealing with were from many, many years living in what I call an inauthentic existence. I had forgotten my weird, forgotten my destiny, and why I'm here on this earth to begin with. And it's easy to do. In this journey of rediscovering my weird, I uncovered this profound truth, and that it's often our unaddressed childhood conditioning and even sometimes traumas that leads us to abandon our true self to begin with. And it's easy to do. But these experiences, although seemingly in the past, they can cast long shadows across our lives. Fast forward to today, in this maze of AI, it's super easy to forget our weird. Forget that innate youthful passion we had before the world taught us to mask our uniqueness. AI is about more than just solving complex issues like disease treatment. It can be a way for us to reconnect with our authentic self by clearing the mundane tasks that possibly we were never meant to be doing in the first place. It allows for us to step into what really truly matters. A lot of people believe that AI is gonna mask our uniqueness, but I believe it can enhance it. Already, teachers are using it with AR and VR tools. Artists are merging AI insights with creativity. And every day, we have business owners across the world automating their business strategies to allow them to get back to why they started doing this in the first place. This reskilling is not going to be easy. In fact, it's going to be very difficult. Burnout is going to be a big issue. I believe that if we aren't serious about doing the things that we were meant to do in the first place, that the burnout we will see in the future years will make the pandemic look like a walk in the park. This is why it's so important that we not just have our authentic self and our true north by itself. We have to partner with AI to create these efficiencies to help us clear the mental clutter. Because when we can do that, we have more clarity and we have more space to do the things that we were meant to do in the first place. It's not just about adapting to the future. It's about combining AI's possibilities with our most authentic self. But it starts with getting honest about our disconnection. That is the first step to stepping into an authentic existence. Now, authenticity alone is just one piece of the puzzle and is not going to get us there by itself. Many people that I talk to, they believe that the next logical step is that I should get as much information and knowledge about what's happening with AI, and that's how I'm going to outpace this. But something I've come to realize over the course of my life is that there's something a little more powerful than knowledge, and that is imagination. Even Albert Einstein said that imagination is more powerful than knowledge. Now, this creates a problem because there's some of us in this room that don't believe or think of ourselves as imaginative. And that's why we outsource a lot of these efforts to the most highly creative and the most highly innovative people. Unfortunately, this problem is only going to be exacerbated if we think we're going to outsource this to artificial intelligence. But what if I told you that every person in this room is imaginative at a genius level and that there's science to prove it? This is the profound sense of creativity is what drove George Land to team up with NASA in 1969 to do a study to figure out once and for all, is imagination and creativity something that we're born with, or is it something that can be taught? So what they did is they took this simple test and they gave it to 1,600 children, a sample size of the United States. You know that this test had a staggering 98% of these 5-year-olds that tested at the genius level of imagination? 98%. almost every single one of them. Now, here's the bad news. Over time, this percentage dropped significantly as they grew older. And unfortunately, only 2% of 100,000 adults that were given the same test as the 5-year-olds still had that genius level of imagination. This is not just a statistic. This is a wake-up call, reminding us of how important it is that we are returning back to this. Recent scientific studies are showing that human creativity outpaces chatbots significantly. We cannot ignore this because it turns out that imagination is not learned. It's unlearned. Now, how do people like you and I start to reconnect with this imaginative self? I want you to do something for me. I want you to think about when you were 5 or 6 years old. What was that kid into? How many of you can remember a time when you were unapologetically weird? When your imagination knew no bounds? All right. What was that kid into? When you played make-believe, what did you play? I was one of those kids too, right? Always cooking up wild schemes, astronaut cowboy on his own planet, always hosting these shows in Frankland. I even turned my parents' basement into a laboratory where every day I was creating some sort of time machine or jetpack or hoverboard, never doubting that there was any way that I wouldn't be able to pull it off. Now, of course I didn't pull it off, otherwise I wouldn't be talking to you today, but the fact is that spirit is so important. The truth is we don't know where AI is headed. It's very unknown. The important thing is to maintain that mindset of a child. And after having hundreds of hours of therapy, reconnecting with my inner child, I had this thought. What if there was more to this imaginative Frankie from childhood, especially as it related to work? Now, this moment of clarity was reinforced as I started watching my own kids a little differently. Their uninhibited personalities, wonder, and imagination, it was like a mirror, reminding us of what we so often tend to lose. And then it hit me. This is the gold that we lose when we sign up for the grown-up gig, the gold of our inner weirdness. We even went full throttle and turned our garage into a wonder lab for the kids, where their imagination ran the show. And as much as I would like to take credit for this idea, my wife, who's here tonight, was actually the one who thought of this. My first thoughts were, where are we gonna put the cars? But it was amazing because we finally started kicking rigidity to the curb. My mission became to help my kids, and well, heck, anybody, hold on to that golden weirdness. After all, managing teams is a lot like wrangling kids. Some of us in here have kids. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I have 6 kids. Yeah, you heard that right, 6 kids. So you can just imagine the levels of chaos trying to manage a kaleidoscope of personalities, keep their, imaginative fires fueled, and then somehow miraculously getting them to all move in the same direction. But even if you don't have kids, this probably sounds familiar. Well, that's because it's essentially the same as being at the office, only with fewer timeouts and more coffee. The truth is that when we started to plug this in at my tech company back 7 years ago, something extraordinary happened. We started encouraging people to show up at work and love their weird. And not only did it create this environment where people felt safe to show up with their own brand of weird, it drove a level of creativity and imagination I'd never before seen in any of the companies. That was when we made a decision to be a make-believe company with one goal: turn our make-believe into reality. This decision, when we decided to take early AI and machine learning and combine that with our tech inventions, along with this new love your weird culture, we unlocked 60x growth in 3 years and became the fastest growing company in Louisiana. These tools of AI, they can be beacons of hope for us. And the best part is, you don't have to build your own tech to do it. One of my favorite examples of playing with AI is this Claude AI. If you haven't heard of it, look it up. Claude AI is great because it's not like chat where you just are asking it questions, but you feed it your own narratives, and it's like having an imaginary friend bringing your stories to life. The other one I love to play with is called Midjourney. Some of you have played with it. But what's great about it is that it's like watching your childhood drawings and creativity come to life. All of these tools and hundreds more, they're not just tools for efficiency. They're a bridge back to our childhood creativity. The best part about this is not the way that we're going to get all the ideas from AI. It's the ability for AI to turn our make-believe into a reality. Now, the final puzzle piece that I want to mention tonight is possibly the most important human quality as we go into this new era, and that is generosity. Growing up, I was raised running homeless shelters with my family, so I embodied a certain level of generosity. But as I got older, I got away from that. And up until 16 years ago, I had lost it. But 16 years ago, something happened that would change my life because I found myself at rock bottom from drugs and alcohol. I was at a turning point of desperation, and I had to get sober. Now, what I didn't know at the time would be that this was the beginning of me reconnecting to this generosity that I embodied as a child. See, it turns out that getting sober is one thing, but staying sober is a completely different story. The secret to staying sober is helping someone else on their sobriety journey. This actually re-brought the human into me doing this work. In fact, helping others became my new drug, a truly limitless drug. And today, AI is allowing us to scale this helping others in amazing ways. This isn't just my journey. Across the world, there are so many people using AI to scale their generosity. In healthcare, we're seeing AI tools take the time it took to analyze situations, freeing up the healthcare professionals to do the work that they really were meant to do, taking the care beyond the physical. In education, now teachers can have an individual learning for every single student. They could never have done that before. Nonprofits are using it to distribute resources across the globe in ways they could never do. One of my favorites is actually the ability for AI to translate and break down language barriers like never before done in human history. Here's an example. Our greatest strength lies in our ability to give selflessly and connect deeply.
हमारी सबसे बड़ी ताकत हमारी निस्वार्थता और गहरी जुड़ाव में होती है. أعظم قوتنا بالعطاء بلا مقابل والتواصل العميق. 我们最大的优势在于我们无私奉献和深入联系的能力。
Harnessing AI to magnify our generosity can help us both individually and collectively help so many more people. So as we conclude our odyssey here today, let's let love your weird be our mantra. Let's partner with AI to help us be more of the supernatural qualities that we each humans have. More authentic, more imaginative, and more generous. Loving your weird is the key to out-innovating the future. Harnessing our unique human ingenuity to create a world where no one gets left behind. So as we leave here, remember this. Your weird is your superpower in the machine era. Thank you.